Hi everyone!
Hi everyone! So welcome to our second video in our tips and tricks series. So many of you ask how we actually go about booking our trip and everything that goes into the planning. So we thought we'd put some videos together to show you exactly how we do our trips and hopefully it helps you. And we had such lovely feedback on the first vlog we did on actually how we go about booking our trips. That was really, really lovely. And please always, we love reading your feedback on the vlogs, so do let us know. And we'll leave a link below to the first video we did. And now we've actually booked our trip, what comes next?
The planning.
The planning.
So when it comes to planning, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's so much information to take in, there's so much to do. And I think even if you went to Florida for a whole year, I think you'd still struggle to achieve it all.
Yeah.
So I think as you start out, same as we do, it's focus on what you really want to do. And there's no right or wrong answer. Everyone plans it in their own way. And some people will plan it down to a T. Mm-hmm. We've seen people with laminates like for each day, and it's like down to the second of the whole day. Other people go and they don't plan at all and maybe don't have the best experience, but they're happy with it. So it's very much subjective and up to opinion. But for us, we feel like a little bit of planning can really help your holiday and make the most of the services available.
Yeah. And think about who you're going with. So if you're going as a big family or maybe a group of friends, before you go, be upfront with everyone and say like, hey guys, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go here? Do you want to go here? So that everybody is clear on their own, what they all want to do themselves. And then think about whether you want to have 2 cars or think about any other modes of transport that you might need when you're out as a group so that you can split off if need be. Just so you can ensure you can all have the holiday that you want it to be. Yeah,
definitely, especially in big groups. So we found that people don't always want to stay in the park for the same amount of time. Mm. So some people might be parked from dawn till dusk, other people are done by midday, and it can create awkwardness. So really be upfront about alternatives. And for example, if you go to Magic Kingdom, if some people in your group don't want to stay in the park for the whole day, they could maybe use the monorail and go and have some lunch or explore some of the resorts without having to get different transport.
And you can still enjoy the holiday as a group, but it just enables you to individually go off and do things if you want to without that awkwardness.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into specifics about how we plan, we want to mention some of the resources that we think are really important to have. The first one is going to be the My Disney Experience app. For Disney World, it's probably your go-to guru.
Yeah,
it covers
absolutely
everything. So it's free to download. You can get it down onto your phone. It has all sorts of things on there. It's got your maps, so you can explore the parks. You can see current ride times. You can get a feel for where everything is. So you can zoom out on the map and actually see where the maps, the resorts are versus the theme parks. On that, you create an account, and that becomes your My Disney Experience account. MDE for short. So if you're on these online forums or Facebook, MDE is My Disney Experience for one of the shortcuts. There's lots of shortcuts.
Abbreviations, yeah.
Yeah, like MK for Magic Kingdom, AK for Animal Kingdom. Epcot is never really shortened.
No, but it's for people that go regularly, they're familiar, but for first timers, it can be a bit of a minefield with all those abbreviations.
It can. So create an account. On there you can manage your dining, so you can make dining reservations, you can link your resort booking, and also you can make your FastPasses on there as well. So it does it all, and we will cover that a bit more later. Also, Universal have an app. It doesn't do as much as the Disney app, but it's still a really good app and it's worth downloading.
We use it.
You can get ride times on there, the park maps, and also they do a lot of these virtual queue lines now for a few rides.
Jimmy Fallon, for example, has the virtual queue line.
Yeah, so basically you link your park ticket to the app. And actually it's really good doing that, because if you lose your park ticket, there's the actual number of your pass will actually be retained.
Yeah.
And actually, just while we're talking about that, a quick tip. Take a photo of the back of your park tickets, because it has the unique numbers on it. So if the worst comes to the worst and you lose your tickets, that's always a good thing to go to guest services and start with these are my ticket numbers.
Yeah.
The SeaWorld and Busch Gardens apps are less, they don't do as much, but you can still book things through that, and we're going to talk about what things to book a bit later.
Yeah. Some other resources that you might find useful are Facebook groups. We do have our own Facebook group, LRDreaming group, and we'll link below. The thing with Facebook groups is there's always live information going on there every day. People are always going away, putting their own hints and tips on, so that is a really good useful resource, and we'll link our page below.
The Facebook groups are dangerous as well.
They are quite dangerous,
because you constantly see all these new things and you're like, okay, I'm going to put that on the list, I'm going to put that on the list. So yeah, in a good way, but it may well mean your holiday has a much longer list of things to do.
Absolutely. And the other thing to remember is the Little Book of Magic, which is available to order on the Walt Disney World website, the official website, and we will link below. And that's just another useful thing to have that you can have sent through the post. It's quite exciting when that comes through though.
Yeah, a little book of magic, and it covers all the parks and some of the key things, which is really good.
Yeah.
Also, you've got the website called The Dib, and it's just like a forum website, but it has a lot of resources on there. And also there's free resources. You can pay for some premium features, but we found that the free resources, such as the park hours, are really good.
Really good.
So you can go to the Florida park hours and you can actually drop down and you will actually be able to see all the parks, and it also gives you a slight indication of which is the best to visit. And we will cover crowd calendars in a minute as well. But you can also create a free document there. So one of the things we've done a few times is you can actually put in your names and enter in which parks you're going to do, and it prints out as a PDF document. And that's quite a handy thing because you've got it all in one place, and it is quite bulky, that's the only thing. So we'll cover what we do in a moment. But it also includes the park hours and the show times, so fireworks and stuff, so really useful. But the My Disney Experience app also includes the Disney hours.
It does,
But if you want all the parks, you want everything, you want Kennedy Space Centre, you want, not Wet n Wild anymore, that's gone, but Aquatica, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, it's got everything in one place. There's crowd calendars, and crowd calendars basically, based on previous years, give you an indication of how busy those parks are going to be. Now, they are fairly accurate in our experience, and they run with the methodology of like weekends are busier, like Magic Kingdom on a weekend tends to be busier. So the Dib do that, and also Undercover Tourist have got a free one as well. And they might be worth looking at.
The only thing with those crowd calendars is when Disney add these huge new lands like Toy Story Land or Avatar or Galaxy's Edge, which is coming up, it can take a little while for it to really give you a gauge on how busy that park's going to be.
Yeah.
So that it gets used to having that attraction.
Just crazy every day.
Crazy every day. It will just say crazy every day, yeah, until it calms down over a few years maybe.
Yeah. And then also we use an app called the Documents app, which is an app on iPhone, so it may be available on Android as well, but on iPhone it's an app that creates like a little file system on your phone, and you can go into that and then you can save things like PDFs, Excel documents into your iPhone.
Really handy.
And easy, just saves printing, saves carrying, so there we go.
So one more point before we go into specifics, we're going to talk about some important dates. So for Disney, for booking your Disney dining, it's 180 days in advance. For on-site, you can book up to the first 10 days. So if you're going for a 2-week trip, you can book up to the first 10 days, and then any days after that is day by day. And then if you're staying off-site, it's day by day.
And also for your FastPasses, so if you're staying on-site at Disney, you can do them 60 days before. And if you're staying on-site, you also get the benefit, which is a big benefit, of all 14 days opening up from your check-in date. So if you do check in on a Monday, you'll then be able to get a full 2 weeks worth of FastPasses picked, which is really good for getting those tough to get FastPasses like Flight of Passage and Slinky Dog and no doubt Galaxy's Edge when it opens.
Yeah.
If you're off-site, you will need to do it at 30 days before you go, and you can do 1 day at a time. So you will need to log in each day to do it.
So there's some timings on when the FastPasses and dining reservations go live. So this is UK time. So for FastPasses, it's midday. And for Disney dining, it's 11 AM online, again UK time, and 12 PM midday for online.
Yeah, so for our American viewers, the FastPasses will be 7 AM, and dining will be either 6 AM Eastern or 7 AM for over the phone. So yeah, they're really good, and it's good to go on bang on that time and it opens up.
Yeah.
One point just to raise around timings is at certain times of the year when the clocks change, sometimes the time difference between the UK and the US is different. So normally it's 5 hours, the US is 5 hours behind. But for example, in March, I think the US go to summertime around 3 weeks before we do. So during that time, the actual timings for selecting your FastPasses will be slightly different.
Yeah.
So it's worth, there'll only be a 4-hour difference. So it's worth checking that. And all we would do is just type in like current time Orlando and just check it to make sure. But
that's a really good way of doing it. Yeah.
Just thinking about some of the other parks and important dates as well. With Universal, we don't tend to book much dining there. We tend to find that you can normally pick up a reservation, and we tend to do quick service at the other parks.
Yeah.
But there is a really nice restaurant called Mythos at Islands of Adventure, and that books around 6 months beforehand. There's also a Minion character breakfast at Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort, which we walked past. We
did walk past that and was like, wow, we need to do that on a future trip.
But that is a buffet, and it only happens every Saturday, and there's 3 times. So that one you can book around 3 months before. So if you are looking to go for the Minion buffet breakfast, perhaps before you go into Universal, about 3 months before. With tours at Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, their timings, they have quite an unusual release schedule. But for example, if you wanted to do the Serengeti Safari, which is where you get to ride on the back of a truck and see the giraffes.
Absolutely amazing,
which
by the
is
way.
really good,
yeah.
At Busch Gardens. That's around 6 months before you can book that. And if you want to do a behind the scenes tour at SeaWorld, it's around 3 months before. But they do sometimes release in bulk, so it may vary through the year. Now let's get into the detail of how we actually plan.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is make a list of all the attractions and all the activities we want to do on our trip.
Yep.
So it might be that we want to visit all the Disney parks, we want to do Universal, SeaWorld, Discovery Cove, Kennedy Space Centre. And what we'll do is make a huge list, and then we'll also make a list of like restaurants we want to visit. And that's our starting point, is putting it all down. And then we do a bit of narrowing down. So we'll then say, right, which ones are our kind of grade A, we must do these.
Yeah.
So like for us, it's always Epcot, Magic Kingdom. We must visit those parks every single trip, and non-negotiables. And then we will finalise our list. And what we'll have is some that we think, well, we may not be able to do them, but we'll put them in as a reminder.
A reminder, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll also create a simple spreadsheet in Excel. So we'll add a row for each day of our trip. You can add a column for activities, dining, FastPasses. We also add a formula for the important dates, and this just helps us build an overall picture of what our trip might be.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be anything flash. And in the past, we have used like a really complicated spreadsheet, but we've actually gone backwards and found that the simplest approach is actually really just to have a basic spreadsheet, a one-pager that we can print out and have with us, and that is our kind of go-to for key things.
Yeah.
And Rich mentioned the dates there, but we'll have like, we'll add the formula in so it works out when our 30 days is, or when our 60 days is, and when our 180 days is. So we know. We've mainly stayed off-site, so we've had to do it daily, so we've needed to remember which days are which. So it really helps doing that.
So you don't need a fancy spreadsheet, but just something that just helps you just sort of structure your trip a little bit.
Yeah.
So once we've got our spreadsheet together, the next thing we'll likely do is put in some important dates from events or anything that's going on in and around the park, such as Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. And we'll get that information directly from the official website, so official Universal and official Walt Disney World website.
Yeah, especially because they don't run every day. So if you're going in fall or autumn time, Mickey's Not So Scary runs on certain nights, and if you're trying to see Happily Ever After, you won't only be able to see it on nights where the Mickey's Not So Scary party is not on.
Yeah.
So we'll pencil in, right, so Happily Ever After we can do on these dates, and then try and tie it in. And
just bear in mind, if you're someone that goes regularly every year, those dates can change and fluctuate, so don't assume that they're going to be on the same date every year, and they can change. And
then we'll look at the crowd calendars and try and get engaged for which days we'll plot our parks in. And what we try and do is have a few break-up days. So for us, a water park is a bit of a chill day.
Yeah.
And we would say try and have those break days. So whether it's a pool day at your villa or a hotel or Disney Springs, it's good to do like maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 park days, and then have a rest day. And it's nothing better than floating around in the lazy river, Blizzard Beach, or Typhoon Lagoon, or Volcano Bay, which is great. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite nice to, you know, do 1, 2, 3 park days, then a water park. 1, 2, 3 park days, and a water park.
Yeah, it's quite easy to just think you can do park after park for a week or 2 weeks without any break-up days, but the reality is when you get out there and you do those parks every day, it can become very tiring. So just try and factor in, try and picture how it's going to, you know, how you're going to be feeling in yourself after doing parks after park, and then think, actually, I might like a pool day or a water park day.
And also look at the geography. So for example, you don't want to keep driving from one end to the other. So you don't want to go to Universal, then Disney, then Universal all in one day. So like for example, Typhoon Lagoon is directly opposite Disney Springs. So we will often go to Typhoon Lagoon first thing when it opens, because it's always best to get there when it opens. That's our top tip. Get to the parks when they open. We often go there, then we'll head over to Disney Springs for lunch and a browse. So it's really handy to do that.
Which is literally just over the road, so, you know, it's so convenient.
Blizzard Beach is down near Animal Kingdom, so it's a lot closer there. So think about things like that. And for example, if you want to go to the mall, you'll often see in our vlogs that we'll go to Universal Studios and then we'll go on to Mall at Millennia, because it's up that end and it's less travelling back. So it's looking at grouping your activities together, and that really does save time and travel as well.
It maximises the time that you've got, just so you're not going off in one direction and then coming back on the other.
Yeah, and extra magic hours. So if you're staying on site at Disney, you get that benefit. They come out around 6 months before, and they do change. So you do need to keep checking. So you, for example, on our last trip, we planned to be in Magic Kingdom on one day, and then extra magic hours came in. Now, if we're not on-site guests, we try and avoid extra magic hours, because it just means the park has already been open an hour when you get there, and it's really busy. So we made a plan, and unfortunately, because we booked dining, we couldn't change it. So sometimes you have to just go with it.
You just have to go with it, because as much planning and effort you can put in, sometimes you just can't get around it.
Yeah, FastPasses, we are going to do a whole separate vlog just on FastPasses, around which are the best rides to go for. But just as a quick gauge, it tends to be, we book our FastPasses for the rides that have the biggest lines and the ones we want to do. So use the My Disney Experience app. It shows you the ride times on average, so you can have a look and say, right, Flight of Passage, well, that's pretty much had a 2-hour wait every single day. That's going to add on the list of one you're going to make sure you want to FastPass. But yeah, because it's such a big subject and there's so many parks, we're going to do a separate vlog coming up about FastPasses.
Yes.
But our strategy on FastPasses is to book the 3 when the park opens. So we'll have one from, say the park opens at 9, we'll do one 9 till 10, one 10 till 11, and one 11 till 12. But the first hour we will spend skipping around really quick rides. So when the park opens, things like Little Mermaid or say Magic Kingdom is like a 5-minute wait. So get some of your quick rides done, and then we'll probably hit our fast pass almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we almost missed the little window, and then you can then get straight into your second fast pass. And after you've done your first 3, you can then do one fast pass at a time thereafter. And it means the afternoon you can pick a different park or something else.
Yeah. So something also to mention as well is the weather, and we did kind of touch on this on our previous tips vlog, but if you're going in the hot, humid summer months, then think about there's typically an afternoon storm. So think about whether you wanted to plan and go back to your hotel or villa just to escape that storm. And just think about those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, and a break from the heat. We often, in our September trip last year, it was extremely hot, and we generally will go in the park from opening, go to sort of around lunchtime, and then have a few hours chilling, and then go back in the evening, so it calms down and it's cooler. So that is a really good strategy we find, is that, you know, doing a whole day when you're sweating and hot, it's nice to have that break.
Yeah, we sometimes wake up and watch, is it Local on the 8s?
Yeah.
Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel, and they will give you like percentage chance of rain, hourly by hourly, things like that. So we normally just flick that on in the morning if we've got time and we're at the villa or hotel at that time.
Yeah, and if you are in a park, just plan for an inside attraction in the afternoon. So, I mean, everyone says it's a 4 o'clock storm. It is not always 4 o'clock, but, you know, do plan for that. If there's an earlier parade in the day, generally the weather's better earlier in the day on those hot months. So, not a guarantee, but worth planning.
Worth planning.
So when we're planning our timings, what we've learned over the years is that things do take longer than expected. So if, for example, you've gone for a ride and your dining is due in like 15 minutes, sometimes even a fast pass can take up to half an hour, because it's only a reduction in the queue, it's not a direct to the front. So we've found that always leave a bit of buffer for your first dining reservation if you're going for lunch or breakfast. and you want to hit some rides, just allow yourself extra time so you're not rushed. And things do take a long time to get around Disney. So if you're thinking, oh, we're going to just hop on the monorail, sometimes the monorail's down, sometimes you have to get a boat and wait for it. So allow yourself extra time transferring from one place to another.
And the queues as well, you know, they can be quite long to get, and then travelling on that mode of transport, it just takes time. So we also want to talk about our top tips for the parks. So one of our biggest tips, and we mention this on the vlogs often, is get to the parks before opening, before the crowds arrive. So a lot of the crowds go off and have their breakfast and things like that. Get there before that, and you can hit a lot of the time some of the big attractions without having to need a fast pass or queue for very long.
Yeah, good strategies at Epcot, where you've got Test Track, Frozen and Soarin' all group one fast passes. So we'll talk about this in more detail on our fast pass vlog, but you can't book a fast pass for the 3 top attractions on the same day. So our strategy is we'll book one for Soarin' and then we run to Test Track when it opens, and that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and in terms of dining when you're in the parks, think about the times of day that you might want to eat that might be less popular. So we personally like to have quite an early lunch. So we'll probably eat around about the 11 AM mark, which is most of the time when the restaurants have just opened and the queues aren't that long. Or you may want to eat later on, you know, more towards maybe the 2 PM mark. So it's that in between, that 12, 1 o'clock mark, where you're going to be, the restaurants are going to be busy.
Definitely. And look at which dining options can offer you early access to the park. So one of the ones we've done before a few times is Crystal Palace at Magic Kingdom, and you book a reservation for before the park opens, and it means you could go in for example at Magic Kingdom you have a special entrance to get in and turnstiles, and then you can actually get in before the crowds and get some pictures. Same with Be Our Guest. There's a really good strategy there of going to Be Our Guest for breakfast, and because Be Our Guest is right next to Seven Dwarfs, you can beat that running crowd trying to get that. It's the same with like Garden Grill breakfast at Epcot. It just gets you in the park before the crowds, which can really help.
Top tip.
And also Disney are doing a lot of mobile ordering now through their My Disney Experience app. So if it's a quick service like Electric Umbrella, you can order on your mobile app, which if there's a big queue, it just allows you to jump a little bit of waiting.
Yeah, definitely. So just to also mention some key points, so on the weekends the parks are generally busier simply because people are off work.
Yeah, locals,
yeah. So think about some of the things that you might want to do on the weekends, whether that be Kennedy Space Centre or maybe a water park, that are typically going to be the less busier kind of areas. Or think about whether you want to go to a mall or an outlet, just to change things up a little bit, just something to think about.
Yeah, always get to the malls early when they open as well. One thing to bear in mind as well is when the events are on, so Food and Wine or Flower and Garden, try to avoid Friday, Saturday and Sundays, because the locals obviously go to those events and it's a lot busier. So definitely go midweek. It's almost the same with Halloween Horror Nights. So like a Friday night or a Saturday night Halloween Horror Nights is going to be a lot busier. So avoid those. Try and go midweek where you can, and that definitely helps. Especially like a Monday or a Tuesday for Food and Wine, we're a lot quieter than the weekends.
Because the kids are at school and the adults are at work, and just makes it a little bit easier. And
with Universal, consider the Express Pass. So if you're going to pay for an Express Pass, look at a one-night stay in one of the premium hotels. So either Hard Rock Hotel, Loews Royal Pacific or Loews Portofino Bay. Because a one-night stay there gets you 2 days of Express Pass, sometimes up to 4 or 5 of you staying in a room. So if you go and price up 2 days Express Passes for 4 of you, it may be much cheaper to stay in a hotel. And you get to enjoy a night in a hotel, and they're lovely hotels.
I think that is such a fantastic benefit that you get it on the day you check in and the day you get out. So even if you just book one night, it's amazing.
So good. So we really hope you found this video useful. Tell us below how you plan your days. As we say, we don't plan too much.
No, not
we book
really.
some of our favourite dining, we book some of our parks, we book some of the non-negotiables, but we leave a lot of space for change and moving things around.
Yeah, but appreciate that there are a lot of people that are looking to go to Walt Disney World in Florida for the very first time, and it can be very difficult to plan. So we do hope that this video has helped, and even if you go regularly, we hope this video has helped. And as always, please leave a comment and just let us know what you think and any tips of your own.
Yeah, and it's no right or wrong, it's your holiday. So
Yes.
Remember our Facebook group, LRDreaming group, really helpful people on there and asking questions, just gives you help, and we've really found it useful to pick up tips and stuff on there.
Lovely to talk to you all as well.
Yeah, so we'll see you soon for some more tips videos.
See you soon.